Welcome to the next video in my series about the Dark Eye core rules. This video will be about magical artifacts. There are basically two different magical artifacts. One is very simple. It is a magical weapon, and there is a special ritual you cast on the weapon, and then it becomes magical. The magical weapon is useful for fighting certain creatures which might be immune or resistant to normal weapons. So you would only make half damage or no damage at all if you hit them with a normal weapon. But these creatures may be hurt by a magical weapon which does normal damage. And there may be even some creatures who are very sensitive to magical weapons, which means they may take more damage than normal. The other kind of artifact is an artifact that contains a charge of a spell, and you can release this charge by using a code word or by using a special gesture. And what then happens is it takes one turn, one action, one combat turn, and the artifact casts the spell for you with a certain spell skill and an attribute value of 14. And you can have several charges in such an artifact, and you can have it with the recharging charges. So after some time you can use it again and again. And this kind of artifact is the first one I'm going to explain how to make it. Basically, you have to use the ritual Arcanovi. You cast the Arcanovi on the artifact, and then you cast your spell on the artifact, and then you have a charge of your spell inside the artifact. And the spell skill you had left after casting the spell on the artifact is the spell skill the artifact will use to cast the spell when the charge is released. If you want to have more than one charge in the artifact, you can have up to 7. For every additional charge, you will get a modifier of -1 to the Arcanovi test and to the spell test. And you also have to pay several times the spell cost when you cast it onto the artifact. So if you cast 4 charges on the spell, you have to on the artifact, you have to pay 4 times the spell cost in astral energy. And all the astral energy you used for the Arcanovi and for the spell casting of this astral energy, you will have to pay 1/10 as permanent cost, which means your maximum astral energy will go down by this 1/10. And you can buy these permanent points back at a cheaper price than you usually buy a higher astral energy point level, but it's still quite expensive when you're creating a very powerful and very expensive item. That is how you create an one-time charge item. When you use the charge, it is gone. When you have used up all charges, you have to go through the whole process again. You have to cast the Arcanovi, you have to cast the spells, you have to pay the cost and the permanent cost again. There is an option to create a recharging artifact, and this small table gives you 3 options you have for recharging artifacts. You can have one that recharges within a month, it can recharge within a week, and it can recharge within a day. And this makes the Arcanovi and the spell test more difficult by -1, -2, or -3, and you have to pay way more astral energy for these artifacts, because the factor is 5, 10, and 25. So in some cases it may not even be possible to create such an artifact. But if you create such an artifact, then it will regenerate the charges after a certain time, and you can use it again, and you won't lose permanent points again when you recharge it with a new Arcanovi and a new spell. There's also a spell called Infinitum, and it is used to create permanently charged artifacts that don't lose their charge when they are used, But today nobody knows how this ritual infinitum works, and so you will only find old artifacts that are enchanted with an infinitum and a spell that are still working today, because the infinitum basically creates an infinite working charge. And the last section explains that you create a magical weapon by using a ritual called, I will translate it as magical blade. That's my translation. The official translation will probably be something else. When you cast a spell on an artifact, you have also to consider what the item is made on, the item you're casting the spell on, because iron and steel are kind of anti-magical. They are harder to enchant, and it will give you an additional modifier of -2 if you're trying to cast a spell on an item that is mostly steel or iron. On the other side, there are special materials that are easier to cast magic on. For example, there are certain gems or crystals or even certain metals that are very good for casting spells on, and they make the casting the spells on a bit easier. If you invest 10 gold pieces into materials, special metals, or some crystals or something, and use that for your item, you can reduce the cost, the permanent astral energy cost, by 1 point, and you can pay 20 gold pieces for material that reduces the permanent astral energy cost by 2 points. You can also, or as an alternative, you can invest these 10 gold pieces into material that would make your Akanovi test 1 point easier. Then there is a special rule. When you're creating an artifact and your Akanovi test was not very good, you just barely succeeded with a quality level of 1, then it is most likely that something went wrong, or something went wrong, and there is a magical side effect with the artifact. There's a table here, you roll on with the d20, and it has several different side effects that can have happened when you cast a spell on the artifact. This is usually done hidden by your game master, so you only will learn what went wrong when you use the artifact and something happens. These are all the rules for creating magical artifacts, and I think I will also cover the rules for analyzing magical artifacts. To analyze magical artifacts in general, you need a spell to analyze it. There are different spells to analyze the artifact. The same goes for magical creatures you want to analyze, and for spells which you witness, you need basically an analyzing spell you can cast to analyze what you see, and then the quality of your analyzing spell will give you the maximum quality you can reach when you analyze, because you need to make a talent test in magical lore to understand what you just analyzed, and the quality of the magical lore test is what you find out about the artifact, and cannot be higher than what you got from the magical analyzers with the analyzer spell. There's a special ability that improves the quality level of your analyzers by 1, but else there is not much you can do. There are different spells you could use for analyzing, or different things you could do, but they will not add up together for a better maximum analysis. Only the best analyzing spell will be used to determine what is the maximum you can find out. And this chart shows the results of quality level 1 to 6, and goes on here, and it simply tells you how much you have found out about the artifact, the spell, or the creature you have analyzed. The last thing here are two examples for magical artifacts, and one is an artifact that improves your magical resistance or your mental resistance against influence, and the other one is simply a magical weapon that was created. For example, the item that improves your magical resistance is imbued with 3 spells, and it costs 40 astral energy points to cast, and 4 of them permanent, and it says the worth of the thing is 105 gold pieces. And the item down here is a magical enchanted weapon with the magical blade ritual, and it is magical for 80 years, and it costs 100 astral energy points to create and 5 permanent points, and the worth is roughly 170 gold pieces. So that's all the rules for creating and analyzing magical items. If you have any question, then comment, send me a message. The next video will be about alchemy, how you brew something, and that's it for this video, and bye.